Hey, it's Mike here. Welcome to the another episode of High Heels on Bitcoin, or I will rather call it Bitcoin on High Heels, because it sounds much better. It's 11th episode, and my guest today is Yael Tamar. I won't introduce her because she will do it better, so thumbs up and let's go!
Thanks, Mike. So I'm Yael Tamar, the CMO and partner at Solid Block, and we transform bricks or real estate into a liquid financial product. We do that through a process of tokenization or putting real estate on blockchain for the purpose of investment and trading. And I come from the marketing background. I've been doing marketing for over a decade. For the last 3 years, blockchain and crypto, and some whirlwind of entrepreneurship. And I'm very excited to talk to you today, Mike.
Yeah, I think our talk will be very interesting because real estate on blockchain is a very interesting topic and basically everything you do. But how did your adventure start? How did you find out about blockchain? How did you find out about cryptocurrencies? Someone told you, or you just heard over the net?
Yeah, I've heard about Bitcoin on and off since it started. It didn't really spark my attention at the time, or was focused on high tech mainly and fintech. Until actually I had a fintech startup and people started asking me why you're not doing loans over blockchain. And I haven't really looked into it until then. And I realized the potential that blockchain has for many technologies. And I decided to focus my career on blockchain since then. So I literally got into blockchain first for consulting, different companies going into the realm of banks and supply chain, IoT, all kinds of regulated B2B services. That was my area at the time. And I from there, I kind of got into crypto since I started reading up on obviously the great things that crypto potentially can bring into the world. Got into Bitcoin for the reason Bitcoin was actually created. Rather than investing, more payment. I was paying my employees overseas in crypto. I got into several ICOs that were pretty successful last year. Until I came back to, my original goal is to be an entrepreneur, to create something that will grow exponentially, create good in the world, solve a real problem, real need. I went back to something that I did 7 years ago, which is real estate, marketing real estate funds. And that industry has created, in that industry, blockchain has created an enormous potential and already very high added value. So I've been researching blockchain projects in the real estate industry. And I had this idea, to help people like myself to be able to access real estate investments and real estate projects that are normally not accessible to everybody. You either need to be an accredited investor or have connections, in order to find some amazing projects. And it's incredibly risky when you go global. You can invest in an apartment in your city. Even then, you go and you take a mortgage, and you essentially are buying two apartments, one for yourself and one for the bank. So it's not necessarily the best investment or as good as everybody makes it out to be. So essentially, I decided I want to solve this problem and open up and democratize the real estate market. And lo and behold, I found my partner, Yuval, and joined Solid Block, which has done amazing things since its inception, including a major project in St. Regis, Aspen, helping raise funds for a AAA asset, a hotel, famous hotel, which is a part of a Marriott brand. So now I'm basically having the time of my life, speaking to smartest people in the world, every day talking to real estate investors and funds, working out different types of financial models, creating this amazing infrastructure that facilitates the real estate industry, or this transition of the real estate industry from a complex, rigid, and slow-moving industry into a more liquid, more accessible, more democratic industry, and that's our goal.
And that sounds very cool, but also very advanced. Can you tell me how long did you join this community? It was like years ago, or maybe 2017 or early?
Yeah. So blockchain. I came to blockchain in late 2017. So that's when I really started consulting companies that wanted to use blockchain, about how and to incorporate it if it's needed, which problems it solves, and so on. So that's when I started. In 2018, I got into crypto and joined Solid Block towards the end of the year. So, and I've been doing real estate and blockchain, I guess, for the last 8-9 months.
Yeah, I think 2017 was the time when everyone heard about cryptocurrencies, because it was mainstream. Yeah, it was just like going crazy. Every project was gathering finance, but I think it was not so good, because some projects were very poor, and they just used blockchain. And what are they going to do? No, we just use blockchain, then we will try to get some money, and then we will think about it.
Yeah. I saw a really interesting, a cute YouTube video about somebody explaining what startups should be doing, in which they're saying, well, what is your business? What is your vision? What is your product? Because blockchain is not your product, and unless, of course, you're creating a blockchain infrastructure of sorts. But if you have a consumer product, it's doing something for somebody, and fundraising is not your product. So it's not the only thing that you do. You actually create a product, and fundraising is a tool for your product. Crowdfunding is a tool to have you build, help you operate and build your product. So, I've seen many companies that are doing, creating products on the side for the sake of fundraising. And I definitely do not like the way that this industry has gone.
Yeah, I think in 10 years or so, no one will try to create their own blockchains, because I think it will be like internet. No one wants to create another internet. They are just using it. They are just using it to make money. Yeah. I think the same thing will happen to blockchain. And what people don't realize, that a blockchain doesn't need cryptocurrencies. It's just like I said, blockchain is tool, and this is the product. But cryptocurrencies, for the most part, they need blockchain. But another question is, so it's like your full-time job. You don't work in corporate. You are full-time in crypto, or is it just your hobby?
I'm full-time in Solid Block. I do not do trading of crypto for the sake of trading or investment. I've done a little bit. I mainly lost money. I buy Bitcoin every month to pay my employees, and sometimes I get paid in crypto, and I used to get paid in crypto for consulting projects that I did. But so this definitely is a full-time job times 2. But I would say real estate is probably a bigger part of it right now, because we've built our product using blockchain. In our case, in Solid Block, blockchain is what enables investors to acquire digital securities, right? So you used to have just regular, securities issued over a PDF document, right? When you buy into some sort of a property that issues a security that's backed by an asset. So with blockchain, we issue a security right now over Ethereum. We could do this over other blockchains. And, your digital security is assigned to you. It has rights. It basically incorporates your rights to certain conditions, like dividends from your property from the property you bought into, for example, as well as rights to profits from an exit. If the property is purchased, or if it's rented out, then you get some sort of profit share, right? So now this is basically a smart contract. So you're going to be able to get your payout with the smart contract, and on top of it, you can trade it because you have this tradable security which you can trade either over the counter, meaning sell it to your neighbor or to your friend or somebody else who bought into the same property, or you can it will be also sold on exchanges, so you'll be able to send it over to an exchange.
Yeah, right. So is your company is SolidBlock worldwide, or you just use some countries? Because in USA you need to have security tokens, you need SEC approval, or in other countries you other financial regulations approval. So it's not that easy. So where do you basically trade those tokens?
Right. So at the moment, we're still in the primary market stage because most tokens right now are not traded yet. So going back to the issuance, in order to issue security tokens, you need to apply for either approval or just notify the local financial regulator, like the SEC in the US. So I'll give you an example of what we did in the US when we did the Set Regis deal, and that was apply for Reg D exemption 506, 506C or 506B. So that grants the issuer a permission to approach only accredited investors,
Right.
meaning investors that have income of over a certain threshold, or assets of over a certain threshold. So which limits obviously the reach of this security. However, it makes regulation much easier. You do not have to get special approvals from the regulator that take time. So that's the United States. Now in the US, you can now approach retail investors, just regular people, non-accredited investors, easily for investment of up to $1 million. And that's called crowdfunding regulation. Now, recently, there's been another really cool development of something called Reg A+. And that's potentially going to be the vehicle to fundraise from retail investors for up to $75 million. So that's something very new. It takes time. It's expensive. It's not an IPO, so you don't go public, but it's getting quite close to it. So that's America. In Europe, you can crowdfund up to 5 or 8 million euros, depending on which country we're talking about. So it's actually very interesting that we could use, we could potentially tokenize 50 to $70 million asset, which is quite a big asset, and then crowdfund for the private equity part 5 to 8 million euros, and then complete the rest from some sort of a debt instrument, either by the bank or a lending company of sorts. So that could be also interesting. It's similar around the world pretty much. Now, that's primary market. That's when you issue the token and you sell it to investors. Now, when it comes to trading, these laws are pretty complex. That's why many exchanges right now are kind of closed up to security tokens. They might have licenses, but they don't want to deal with a complexity of regulation. In many cases, if the primary issuance was only limited to accredited investors, then you may also trade it only sell it only to accredited investors, which means that every time somebody wants to buy your tokens, they have to get on a whitelist, which includes accreditation check. So it's not an immediate transaction. It's a transaction that will take some time when your credentials, KYCs, AML, and accreditation check will be complete. So regulation is complex, but it's done for our good. I feel very confident being in this industry as opposed to the industry of the initial coin offerings, because we're creating a product that's going to be the middle ground. we're going to be able to offer the regulators the confidence to open this market up to retail investors through transparency, due diligence, tying the security to the base asset, which is real estate, creating quality products. And I think that the market is going to open up because of this trend.
Yeah, I think, but do you agree if I say some people don't realize that when you want to raise some money, you need some money to just to start for marketing for your product, and in 2017 people basically wanted to raise like 20 or 30 million dollars, and they didn't have a penny. So right, I think now it is changing. And about STOs, I think there are some countries like Malta or maybe Switzerland or maybe Estonia or I think Gibraltar. They are trying to be ahead of all the other countries, and I think the United States are the worst market for that kind of securities, because of, just like you said, SEC is basically telling you cannot sell your securities to the crowd. Like you need to.
You'd be surprised. I mean, you'd be surprised that there. I think in the end of the day, when you're looking at it now, you understand that the SEC was right all along. So, they protect their citizens, and from the huge market losses that almost everybody who came after a certain time experienced. But yeah, there's some markets that have more relaxed laws, and as far as raising funds or trading securities. But I think at the end of the day, it's all going to be kind of merging into like a more similar global regulation, and that's what we've been seeing. Actually, countries follow each other when it comes to these things.
And there are of course some countries like Poland where we have basically no laws, but of course we cannot do security tokens. We have only, I think, AML and KYC laws, and basically that's all, and maybe some tax laws and nothing.
Interesting. I think I looked it up, and we actually do have a project in Poland, but for global investors, so we may do a European regulation for it probably. And again, when it comes to regulation, the important thing to remember is you need to apply for regulatory approvals for the jurisdiction of the investors. So, if you are doing a project in Poland, but your investors are coming from the UK, then you need to take care of the regulation in the UK, because at the end of the day, it's protecting these investors.
Oh, cool.
And yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. I thought when you do a project in Poland, you need to obey Polish laws, but then.
Well, you need to obey Polish laws when it comes to, let's say, trading, right? So if you're if you're not a financial institution, you don't have the appropriate licenses, or you want to open an exchange, let's say, that serves Polish customers, then absolutely you need to, if you're working with Polish customers or Polish investors, then absolutely you have to take care of the local regulation. If you're just developing a solution, you have a few programmers sitting in Poland, then that would not be necessary. If you're operating in a different area, and investment is operation, sales is operation. If you're operating in a different jurisdiction, you need to make sure you obey the laws of that jurisdiction.
All right. Now let's talk about conferences and meetings and that stuff. How often do you participate? Where can we meet you this year?
Way too often. Yeah, I travel a lot to speak at different conferences. As much fun as it is, it's interesting to live on airplanes. I speak a lot about security tokens, about real estate and blockchain, just about actually other industries as well, because I've had a wide exposure. So the next one is going to be, I'm in Russia at the moment, so I'm doing some work here and meeting some local funds and basically enlarging our investor base. but no conferences this time. And the next conference, is interestingly enough, is in Israel. So I'm going back to Israel. We have an amazing event that Solid Block is organizing called the Real Estate Shark Tank, the tokenization edition, and we're doing the simulation or mock Shark Tank for real estate projects, which is the beginning or the opening of the blockchain week. So I'm going to be participating in quite a few events during the blockchain week. And from there, I'm going to fly to Indonesia and speak about what blockchain will do for the developing countries. And we are working also with some projects in the developing countries. I think it's going to create enormous potential there. From there, I'm likely to go to South Korea, and then I'm confirmed to a conference in Greece called Decentralized. And from there, we're going to either London or Malta. In Malta, I'm doing a few panels and a keynote. By the way, Malta conference is one of my favorite conferences by far. I think they're doing such an incredible job, just kind of gathering all the really cool people and just making sure we're all having an enormous amount of fun. So that's I think that's all I can remember, but I'm sure there's more.
So you really travel a lot, so you should have your own private plane, or maybe you own one already.
Oh, God forbid. No, definitely not. I don't even travel business class. I'm just basically a very convenient person to invite to a conference. And I'm not very, not very expensive that way, but definitely not a private jet. Very, very low key.
All right, let's move to another topic, another question. What do you think about women or women in the men's world? Do you even consider blockchain or cryptocurrency men's world? As far as I am concerned, there are about, I don't know, 95% of all crypto communities men. What do you think about it, and how do they treat you? Does sex really matter?
So, first of all, I think 95% of almost every industry in tech is male, or more or less. And in the blockchain industry, what's been actually exciting is that I have seen a lot of women managers, a lot of women entrepreneurs. I don't see it as a guys club at all. Maybe I'm just looking at the right places.
Right.
But what I'm having big trouble with right now, right at this moment, is my event in September, and I'm trying to find real estate investors that are female, and I've been having major trouble with that. I'm sure there are some. Maybe they're much more low key and not very public, which makes sense, I guess, in this industry. But in general, I guess maybe because maybe I come from the Soviet Union where we had like absolute equality between the sexes. But I don't see gender so much. Very often I come in and I'm the only woman in the room. I think a lot of women like me find it empowering even, or maybe powerful, because at the end of the day, when you're trying to make deals, you want to be memorable and you want to make an impression on people. And it's easier to do if you're kind of like a rare occasion. So for women that do join, these industries, I think that, for us, it's for us, it's a good thing, like to be the only or the first. Now, for women in general, I heard a lot of stories about people being uncomfortable with the crypto industry. It's full of some things that are like a male club and here and there. And I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it. It doesn't bother me in general because I'm just focused on my thing. I'm just focused. I'm doing my job. I'm working. I'm getting clients. I'm getting partners. We're getting funding for projects. Just doing my thing and try not to focus on wow, they're being politically incorrect, or these people are flirting with me or whatever. Like, just get over it. Just do your job. Like your job is to create the most amazing product, or to market, or to make money. Just make sure you're doing good things, positive things, ethical things. Always ask yourself, what I'm doing right now, would if I were on the other end, what would happen? So I just think everybody should just focus on what they're doing and do the best thing they can.
So it's not like you have had any bad experiences with men, like just like I don't know, said, oh, you are just another stupid woman, or go to kitchen or something like that. Are they respectful, or maybe?
I don't think anybody has ever said that to me, but maybe that's because that's the way I carry myself. I sometimes dominate the room or attention, or command respect. So I'm not sure if I've had anybody brush me off because of gender. I think the only place where I've seen not even discrimination, it's just, I think it's natural for men to, like, when you come to like a network, when you're trying to start a business, you rely on your group of friends or people from the industry. So it's natural for them to invite their friends to the conferences to speak, or it's natural for probably women would do the same thing, because you naturally invite people, you invite your friends, invite your, and surround people you've been in the industry so far. They don't go out and look for someone new. And that's actually something that I've been trying to do. I created an organization called Women in Block, and our purpose is to give women opportunity to speak publicly, to be on panels, to do speaking engagements. And I've created maybe 4 or 5 events last year, invited some interesting people, and videotaped all of it, so that these women can now go to global conferences and say, listen, this is me. This is this is my stuff. You can see this recorded video of an event where I was invited to speak about my area of expertise. We don't talk about women's issues. We talk about, real stuff. And people at my events, they used to say, wow, I cannot believe, I don't know why they cannot believe, but I cannot believe there's a woman who is like the head of compliance and like a big exchange. And then she had this career in a bank, and I cannot believe that there is this woman who was the head of an investment fund. So people found it kind of unbelievable in the 21st century that there's these professional women, but they were amazed of the number of women in the industry. So that accomplished one of my goals. And the second goal, which I'm trying to do, is to get women accepted into these events as speakers. And that's been a little hard. Because again, I think that it's natural for people who organize them to, first of all, invite their friends. And a lot of times conferences don't make special effort to make things more diverse. And I've been, I look at people at these conferences, these groups of men. Somebody just sent me on LinkedIn a link to a conference. I can't remember, either it was in the former Soviet Union country or Middle East, Indonesia. That was another conference in Indonesia, like a week after the one I'm going to. And I think they just basically wanted me to sponsor. They emailed me to take sponsorship. And I looked and I was like, did you email me because you want me to speak, maybe? Because you have 40 people in the speaking, in the speaker section, and none of them are female. They're like 40 guys. So that was really weird to see. And bottom line, no, I didn't flat out experience discrimination. I did have a few people in the industry just kind of try to, not to discredit, but just do things that in other industries may be considered inappropriate, like jokes and things. But like I said, I don't let that bother me at all.
All right. Just want to mention that in Poland we have two girls. There are some special meetings for women.
Nice.
It's called Blockchain Girls. They were my interviewees in this series, and they are doing just like meetings for women. and their goal is to encourage girls because they are mostly shy. They want to find out about blockchain. They want to find out about crypto, but they are too shy, and sometimes they don't want to they don't want to travel and don't want to visit the conferences because there are a lot of men. But they are doing great
Wow.
job, and that's why I started this series to find interesting
Nice.
women and to show to the world that women are there, they are the experts, and they have very interesting things to say.
Well, I mean, my advice is basically understand that there's so many companies in the world, there's so much money, and there's only one of you. You know, you have a special talent and a special skill that nobody else has in the world. You know, that's not me, that's Deepak Chopra. But basically, because you have this unique talent, you have to let it shine, you know, gain some confidence because there's only one of you, and everybody should be on your case and you know, and actually buying whatever you have. But in order for everybody to buy what you have to show what you have. And again, your confidence stems from the fact that you are the prize. There's only one of you. And, you know, I'd love to speak with these women doing these events, maybe do some Zoom meetings or maybe fly over one day, maybe do a workshop. You know, I'd be happy to help.
Oh, very cool. I will let them know. But you know what? It was very wise what you have said, but I think most people, not only men but also women, they just want to sit, watch TV, drink beer, or, or drink wine, and
Help them. Can help them with
yeah.
that.
So,
them with that.
so I think I can say if you cannot motivate yourself, then no one will motivate you. So that's all. Okay. So next question is, what are your plans for the future? Do you want to expand, or do you want? Are you fine with the thing you do now?
To take over the world.
That's an evil plan.
Yeah. No, I'm never fine with where I am now. I always want more, to do more, to reach more people, to help more people, to create more opportunities. Eventually, I want to be an investor myself and real estate projects, just help entrepreneurs like myself at the moment. And in order for that to happen, you know, obviously you have to get there. And I want to do that by doing what I love, waking up in the morning and being excited. You know, every morning when I wake up. By the way, now I started doing yoga and meditation every single morning when I get up a little earlier. Uh, it used to be I try to run or do exercise, but it never worked in the morning. So I think that's a good way to kind of start and focus. And I always, you know, can't wait to, you know, put my kids to school and then, you know, run and go and start my day. What do I have? Who do I have calls with? You know, I have this goal every day to have at least 3 phone calls and close at least one new deal with these phone calls. You know, phone calls and meetings, usually more than 3. So basically my goal is to have that kind of life, kind of do what I love, make sure that every single moment I'm doing what I love, because so many people are sitting there in these jobs that are just they hate, and people they hate working with. So, you know, I love the people I work with, you know, my partners, our advisors and investors, and create your own environment and make sure everybody's motivating each other, and there's ambition. You want to reach somewhere. I want our company to be valued at $1 billion in x amount of years. Yeah, so we can create enormous value and create a portfolio of investments worth, you know, I'm not going to name a number, but I have a number in my head, and enable millions of people, or even tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people to achieve their dreams, to accomplish their dreams through investment in real estate and other assets. You know, right now people are kind of deprived of this opportunity. It's only for the rich. You know, people are despondent because the recession is coming up. and they're not doing well already. So then the wealth gap is only going to increase. So I want to kind of help and assuage the situation by providing people with like a stable type of asset in a digital form that will help them store and create more value. So that's my vision, and in the future I think it's going to lead to great things.
So I can say in the next few years we can see your company top 10 of the world's companies, yeah?
I hope so. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Top 10 in the specific industry, but yeah.
Why not the entire industry?
Entire industry, I mean, I think it takes a little bit more time than that now. I mean, you had this dot-com boom where uh, companies like Facebook and Google came out of, and but at the end of the day, you also have traditional industries, like
Yeah.
oil and gas, which have the majority of S&P 500, if I'm not mistaken, are oil and gas and energy companies. In fact, there are a few telecom companies, there are a few dot-com companies. So, it took them about 10 years to get there, at least the dot-com companies. The energy companies have been there for 50 or more years, some of them, right? So, it's an ambitious plan. Who knows? We might as well, hope for the best, but prepare for a good outcome, and be ready.
Yeah, okay. I want to ask you one more question about where do you actually live? Do you live in Israel or like in Russia? Where where is your home, if you can tell me?
Yeah, I live in this blue world. I live in a matrix. Yeah, my home is in Israel, in Tel Aviv, which is my favorite city in the world. Um, and I do travel a lot. Like my area is mainly Europe and some Asia. I was born in Ukraine, and I came to the U.S. as a high school exchange student first in '99, and then I went off to college in the U.S. In New York City, then moved to Israel. So lived a little bit in Europe. So I am more of a citizen of the world.
Yeah,
But I encourage everybody to, yeah,
I was going
I
to say
encourage
that.
everybody to, yeah,
I was going to
yeah.
say
You're
that.
gonna say that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to invite everybody to come over to Israel because first of all, there's a unique startup ecosystem there, and it's something that only was created less than 20 years ago. And this enormous ecosystem, which now is, I think, number 3 or number 4 startup ecosystem in the world, behind the Silicon Valley, maybe New York City, is in Tel Aviv or Central Israel. So that's number 1. Number 2, the enormous number of blockchain startups that came out, the same 2017, 18 boom, and subsided a little bit, but we still have an enormous amount of blockchain infrastructure projects that are thriving up until this day. And yeah, so look into Israel.
Oh, cool. I may visit Israel someday.
Yes, we'll show you around.
All right. I will keep that in mind. And I was going to ask about Israel. Do you have any regulations, or does the state fight cryptocurrencies, or maybe because I have heard many sometimes different news about Israel and about the regulations. How does it really look?
So Israel is actually at the forefront of regulation. We do follow the SEC in many of the instances. Crypto in Israel is quite regulated. You need to have a variety of licenses, but all the laws are pretty straightforward when it comes to taxation, when it comes to trading. There is no law governing ICOs, for example, because I think that they just decided at the end of the day it's not necessary. The ICOs are not happening anymore anyway, and now they're working on a framework for things that are similar to secure digital security offerings. There is a very bad dynamic with banks. The banks don't want to accept clients, and open accounts for crypto or for blockchain companies even. However, there was a court case last year in which the Bits of Gold, one of the exchanges, sued a bank, one of the largest banks in Israel, over closing of their account. And it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ordered the bank to temporarily reopen their account. Now, the court marked this decision as non-precedential, unfortunately, so it cannot be used in other cases. However, it's still encouraging that the bank was saying, that the central bank was saying that the commercial bank does not have that sort of a power over an account. So that said, many Israeli companies have banks somewhere else when if they need to use crypto, or if they're using even blockchain in many cases. But that situation is the same in many countries. Like in Malta, it's also very difficult to open a bank account. So I'm waiting for a fully digital bank that's going to be able to offer services, to blockchain crypto companies, also for retail, for everything else.
Yeah, we have had the same problem in Poland in 2017. Banks were closing accounts, and I think our government exiled 2 or 3 major exchanges. One of them moved to Malta, and they are working out there. And I don't think they will come back to Poland. Of course, they support Polish clients, but now they pay taxes in in Malta. So that was like a bad move. Okay, and I think the last question I have is, what do you do after hours, after you finish that crypto? What are your hobbies? What music do you like to to hear, to listen to?
After hours, yeah. So I have 2 kids. So a lot of times after hours, I spend time with them. I have a dog. No, I have so many hobbies. I don't attend to many of them on a regular basis, but I dance salsa, I scuba dive, I am learning wave surfing. What else? Hiking, camping. I play the guitar. I don't even remember what else I do, but I do lots of sports. I play volleyball. That actually I do a few times a week. I swim. I used to be a lifeguard, so I at the Olympic Games.
Wow.
For example. No, I'm saying that just because my kid, every time we meet somebody at the pool, she mentions that, so it kind of got in my head. So yeah, so I'm very active, but that's because I'm also very hyper and I don't sleep very much. So, and I every hour that I don't devote to, my kids, or I'm working pretty much. So my work day usually finishes at midnight and starts again at 6 in the morning. So yeah, and it's fun. It's fun. I don't do TV, or I don't do a lot of parties or social gatherings so much. So I have a lot of time to work.
All right, I forgot to say one more thing, because after we will say goodbye to our audience, you don't have to disconnect. I always forgot to do that, to say that and one time I was speaking to one person and I said, all right, goodbye. She said goodbye and she just disconnected. So it was a bit awkward because I wanted to talk to her a bit more. But okay, right now, okay, let's. Okay, I think basically that we are almost done. So it's like 5 p.m. next. Okay, so now we can say goodbye to our audience, and I think. Okay, we can talk
again.
All right.
Moving because the sun. I didn't.
Yeah,
sun.
I did notice that they are moving all the time. So it's like 8 p.m. Right where you are.
No, 6.
Yeah, 6. It's 5. Almost 5. It's like 8 minutes until 5. All right. So. Okay. So. All right, so I think that's all. Thank you very much. Your suggestion about the show title, so it will be now Bitcoin on high heels, not high heels on Bitcoin. So thank you very much for your suggestion, and I think we will say just goodbye to our audience. And
Maybe you can do Bitcoin in Louboutin. That's a brand of a shoe. Yeah, thanks, Mike. It was fun. I always love talking about myself. No, I love talking about my vision and, getting people to join our cause. I happen to talk a lot about myself. I am working on that. And yeah, and I come check out Solid Block, www.solidblock.com. We have a blog that talks about all these issues. And yeah, come and talk to me anytime about whatever you want on LinkedIn or whatever social media you use.
All right, I will
And
keep that in mind. So you are a very interesting person. Thank you very much for your participation in my Bitcoin on high heels. I need to remember that. So thank you very much and goodbye. See you next time.
bye. See you soon.